Hello, witches. I am back again live here on Instagram for another broadcast that I told you I was going to come back on and discuss with you, witches, that I completely feel that witches need to start doing. Throw rocks at glass houses. What does that even mean? You've heard the expression, those who live in glass houses should not throw rocks. That means you should not mistreat somebody when you have your own mess that you are caught up in. That's what it means when you've heard that saying, those who live in glass houses should not throw rocks. Because somebody is eventually going to snap and throw a rock at your glass house, breaking it into a billion pieces, and you would deserve it. Especially if that rock comes from a witch, especially if that rock is justifiable. Many witches that this video reaches need to throw rocks at that glass house. You have an enemy in your life who won't back down, back away, leave you alone, won't stop bothering you. You may have tried to call the police to settle the matter. You may have tried to be civilized and a good citizen, a good neighbor. Be polite, be kind, be graceful, extend mercy to this person who is an enemy, and it doesn't work, especially when they are caught up in their own mess. Release that rock. Throw that rock at their glass house. Throw it, because you have tried everything to be civilized. And what is a witch to do when he or she can't take any more abuse? What is a witch to do when he or she can't take any more? Those people who live in glass houses should not throw rocks. This means that if you have your own mess, your own dirty laundry, you should not be talking or mistreating anybody ever. Because that person, who most likely is a witch, will snap and throw a rock, shattering your glass house, and you would deserve it. Because witches do not let that type of energy go so easily, with no good reason. Every time a witch hurts someone, it is for a good reason, or else that curse cannot land, or else that curse cannot work. Many witches need to start throwing rocks at the houses that are made of glass that their enemies are currently living in, because you have been pushed to the breaking point. And you don't have to worry about it coming back on you. All of the horrible experiences that you have gone through with this person, Hecate will give you a blessing in return. Hecate will prosper you, protect you, give you abundance, give you a brand new life that person has tried to destroy or tried to keep you from. Hecate will give you a new life, a better life, a life that enemy cannot touch. They may try to go through your family, your kids, your friend, your husband even. Oh yes, I know that's a word for somebody listening right now. Yes, even your spouse. But it won't work. When you are a devotee of Hecate, when you are under her covering and her protection, it's not that you can't be touched. It's that it will feel like a butterfly landing on your shoulder. It will be irrelevant. It won't feel like anything. It will no longer feel like a red hot poker being stuck into your kidney. I know that's what you're going through. I know that's what many witches watching this right now or on a replay going through right now. What happened to your enemy will not happen to you. What happens to your enemy will not happen to you, because you are under the covering, the protection, the favor, the prosperity, the abundance of Hecate, and you will retrieve every single weapon of war that your enemy has thrown at you, so that when future enemies emerge, you will be well stocked up to fight that battle, to fight that war. Any new enemies that live in glass houses that appear in your life, that try to mess with you, they won't have the weapons necessary to take you out, because you received the weapons from Hecate herself from fighting the previous enemy. They can't deal with you. They can't attack you. Hecate will send confusion in the camp of your enemy. If they live in a glass house, you need to start throwing rocks. What kind of rocks? Throwing curses at them. Putting them in the freezer. Wrapping their name in a jar and barbed wire. And poison ivy leaves. And oak leaves. A lot of your enemies talk a lot of trash, a lot of garbage about you. They throw dirt on your good name. Let me tell you something. If you are a witch, your name is good. Why? Because it is witches that the world needs more of. It is witches that the world needs more of. There's not enough witches in the world to combat the evil. There isn't. We need more witches. Those enemies that live in glass houses, they won't even see the rocks coming, but they will feel them. They may not see those rocks coming, but they will feel them. It will be continuous. It will start off as a small rock, maybe a pebble, then a cinder block, then a whole building made of bricks coming at their glass house, as it should be, because you have tried everything else. You have tried to be nice and civilized and kind and polite and good and love and light, and it does not work on some enemies. Some enemies of yours do not deserve your grace, especially your mercy. It's called standing up for yourselves. It's called having a backbone. It's called throwing stones at the enemies that live in glass houses. That's what it's called. And many witches are holding back. Why are you holding back? You don't have to fear the threefold law. You don't have to fear karma if it is justifiable. You don't. It is you holding back that is making the abuse, the mistreatment continue. I said this before. Witches are powerhouses. Only witches, let me just say that, only witches are powerhouses. And your enemy has no idea that the world can literally be dropped on their head. And they have no clue about the glass house that they live in being shattered, being destroyed. They have no clue. Too many witches are holding back. Too many witches are holding back because they don't want to have bad stuff come after them. Bad stuff can't come after you if it is justifiable. It can't happen. It can't. It cannot. You have to start throwing rocks at people who live in glass houses. You have to. That's the only thing they can understand. That's the only thing they would ever understand. How often have I told witches, you have to speak to people in a language that they can't understand. You can't speak Spanish to me and expect me to understand. I only speak English. I know some people say if you speak more than one language, you must be super smart. Hell, Hitler spoke more than one language and he was a monster. So that's a dumb thing to say. No, that's actually not true. Just because you can speak more than one language does not equate to having high intelligence, okay? So let's not go there. Your enemies that live in glass houses, shatter those windows. Shatter them. Shatter them. A lot of witches that I speak to feel so much better when they destroy the house of enemies that live in glass houses. They feel this weight. They feel the world come off their shoulders, as they always will. It's not you being petty or not being the bigger person. It's called defensive magic. That's what it's called. It's called defensive magic. Who cares if they lose it all when that glass house shatters? They did not care when it was you on the receiving end. Did they? Of course not. They have shattered your house, so now it's time to send it back. For some of you witches have multiple enemies that need their house made of glass shattered. Shattered. They need to know that you are favored and protected by the Queen of Witches, Hecate. Hecate will give you the spoils of that war they have put you through. You, the witch, will have abundance, protection, good health, wealth, beautiful homes, beautiful cars. These are not materialistic things. These are the spoils of war that is rightfully yours. Go get it. But you can only get it if you shatter the homes of your enemies that live in glass houses. The point of saying don't throw stones if you live in a glass house is don't talk to people like they are a dog in the street. Don't mistreat them when you have your own mess going on, because your house made up of glass can easily be shattered, can easily be brought down, can easily be destroyed. And now we both don't have a house because you were so concerned about my house. You have to do it. You have to do it. You can't let another year go by with your enemies just being allowed to go on their merry way. How many times are you going to let your enemies just go happily, down the yellow brick road? How many times are you going to let your enemy go happily down the yellow brick road? Aren't you tired of that shit? Aren't you tired of being sick and tired? If it is justifiable, if the enemy deserves it, their house will shatter. That curse will land. Throw rocks at people who live in glass houses. Not because you don't have anything to lose. You actually have everything to gain. What you lose, Hecate will restore more than your mind can even comprehend. But if you do nothing, you will be standing in a pile of broken glass while your enemy goes on living happily ever after. That can't stand for witches. That can't stand for witches. Witches are powerhouses. Why would they let that go? Why would they let an enemy go happily on with their life? Why would they do that? It is called defensive magic. Protecting yourself. While Hecate, the queen of witches, adds her strength to your own. Witches do not let that type of energy go so easily. They don't. They don't. Witches are pretty tolerant, but like everybody else, witches have a breaking point. Witches snap. What is a witch to do when he or she can't take no more? So they go to witchcraft. They go to the supernatural to bring about real significant, and in this case, very much permanently positive change, because you can't restore a glass house that has been brought down. You can't. There's no way to restore it because it's in a million pieces. Who's gonna be so tedious and spend all that time putting together again a glass house? Nobody. Your enemy needs to be taught a lesson. Those who live in glass houses should not throw rocks, because their own house can and will likely be brought down. And you would feel no regret, no remorse, no saying, maybe I should not have done that. You would actually be proud of yourself that you finally have a spine. You are no longer a spineless jellyfish that just takes it, that just takes abuse, because it's easier to be passive. It's easier to pacify someone, to be nice, to not start arguments, to not defend yourself. No, we're not doing that in 2024. Witches are not doing that in 2024. We are not being shy and meek and weak and just trying to keep the peace. No. We know that witches are not really love and light. We know that. We know that's a joke. It's a joke. It's laughable. If a witch told me that they are love and light, I would laugh in his or her face. Absolutely. So you're telling me you have no backbone. You have no spine. You have no protection, no favor of the Queen of Witches. You're just a girl, just a guy who collects crystals and just lights a couple of candles. How pathetic. How pitiful. But that won't be you, though. That won't be you. That will not be you. When you stand up for yourself, that gets the attention of Hecate. That gets the attention of any god or goddess or deity or ancestor or familiar or spirit animal. That gets attention, and they will add their strength to your own. They would tell their enemy to don't even bother attempting to put their glass house together again. Why bother? When the witch is just going to knock it down again. Why bother? Why bother? It's useless. You can't build it back up. You can't fix it. Witches need to start throwing rocks at the enemies that live in glass houses. They have to. They have to. It is called defensive magic. It is defensive magic. It is. It is. It is defensive magic. Throw rocks at your enemies that live in glass houses. It has to happen. In 2024, we can't be docile, weak, meek, no backbone, no spine. We can't be that way. We have to be witches of impact, powerhouses, influencing the world around us, not letting the world influence us. And you will collect the spoils, the treasures of that war. You will. You will. And the enemy that has lost their glass house, too bad, so sad, who cares? They had more than enough time to leave you alone, and they chose not to. It was their choice to go to war with a witch. Their choice, not yours. You didn't start this fire, but you're going to put it out, and you're going to take their house from them. Watch it happen. Watch it happen. Watch it happen throughout the entire 2024 year. So thank you, witches, for joining me again for this live pop-up broadcast, or if you are watching a replay on my other social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. Be sure to share this broadcast in your stories or on your other social media platforms. Tell a witch or two or three that there is a high priestess in New York who is anointed and appointed by the Queen of Witches, Hecate, to be a voice for witches who have ears to hear and hands to receive Hecate's best. Thank you, witches, for joining me tonight, and I'll speak to you, witches, soon. Bye, everyone.